It's dialogue, darling, not a laundry list. Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, playwright and mystery writer, author of the Lacey Smithsonian Crime of Fashion Mysteries, and Crook Tales for Two, my latest book. Today I'm thinking about dialogue. It can be snappy, sad, or moving. It can express a multitude of feelings. However it is written, it supplies the spice or flavoring of the book, or not. Or it can slow you down and sound so vague you have no idea who said it. It shouldn't be a laundry list, unless that laundry list is fascinating, perhaps in a spy novel. The one aspect of writing that can take a moment out of the ordinary is the dialogue. So why do so many works sound dull? The dialogue and the book's voice are inextricably linked and create that amazing alchemy that makes you remember a book or a play, or even a short story. You can forgive a lot of plot problems if the dialogue moves you along. If the characters are fascinating and unforgettable, plot problems just fall to the side, in my humble opinion. There have been many times when my husband Bob and I discussed plays after seeing them in workshops and productions in the theater. Everything was great, at least mechanically. The plot, the arc, the climax, and the solution all made sense. So why were they so stultifying? The words and dialogue simply didn't sing. It is like music you can't remember. You know it was there, but you can't recall a note. On the other hand, we could easily sit through a play with a ridiculous plot with holes throughout. If the lines were witty and fun or provocative, it could be a mess of a play, but still memorable. We laugh at the lines. Now, lots of people writing books get hung up on the word said. He said, she said, they said. And some teachers believe there is only one way to tag dialogue with the word said. But that gets repetitive and boring too. You can use descriptors if you use them sparingly. And you certainly don't need attribution in every sentence if it's just between two people. You can break up attributions with some action words. Also, with an action. For instance, you could write, "I'm afraid I won't see you again." Sebastian lit the fuse. See, we know who's talking. Sebastian. Or we can have, "I'm afraid I won't see you again." Sebastian turned his head to the wall and died. Or, he swept the shards of the priceless antique into the trash. "I'm afraid I won't see you again." All different ways of writing that dialogue. When I write dialogue, I have to hear the character's voice, whether it's young and naive or older and weary. I also speak it aloud when I write to catch a turn of phrase. I catch mistakes that way. Bear with me. I have read a lot of book reviews that tell you the book is hilarious or sensitive, and they quote a line of dialogue that is neither hilarious nor sensitive. The problem is that you need some context. So I'm going to give you some examples with my dialogue, and I will give you the context in the sample. First, here's an example from my next book with the working title, "These Crooked Things." The speaker is Frank Romeo, a gangster. Also present are Englishmen Graydon Chase and Esme de la Forêt. The dialogue supports the narrative. At least I hope so. Void is that Duncan Balmain was not long for this world, so I wasn't surprised he got it. I started. At least I didn't gasp. I can gasp quite theatrically. Suffice to say, Graydon and I were both taken aback. Frank smiled. "New information?" "Yes, definitely new information," Graydon admitted. "Don't look at me. I didn't know them before Friday night," I said. "Balmain called and Esme insisted on coming along. I thought it must be one of those financial crises that people have when midnight nears." It was no more than Graydon had told the papers. The ones that have millionaires tossing themselves out of high windows," Frank said. "Never could understand that. Things can always change for the better tomorrow." Frank sounded philosophical. "I only heard this from a friend who heard it from a friend." As I said, I wasn't surprised about Duncan, the little weasel. But the woman who's in the hospital? His wife wasn't supposed to be a part of it. And pregnant? No one I know acts that way. It's not done. I'm not saying that women can't be evil and in for their share of punishment, as you know. I did know. Bianca Lombardi was jailed and would no doubt be heading for the electric chair before the year was out. But I heard nothing about this woman, this Maura Balmain. I hear she's going to make it. It troubles me that it happened in the home. It really troubles me. Can you divulge what the reason was? Graydon could always make things sound so civilized. All I know is Duncan was a guy, promised things he couldn't make good on. Too many times. It wasn't really about the money, though the Balmains don't have as much money as everybody thinks. He jumps out a window, I couldn't care. And Juliet Scavulo? I asked. She won't talk to me. You know that guy? That Greek myth guy who gets his liver pecked out every day? Prometheus, Graydon supplied the name, stole fire and gave it to mankind. That's what it is. My punishment for not choosing love. I gotta live with the thought of Juliet every day of my life. I see her at church. I hear her name. I conjure her up in my dreams. And I wake to nothing. On a lighter note, here's a conversation in These Crooked Things between Graydon's parents, Lord and Lady Chaseborn. Lord Chaseborn has shown up unexpectedly from London, surprising his wife, his son Graydon, and Esme. He's very angry at his wife. You practically snatched women off the street for Graydon to marry in your quest for grandchildren. I still have hope for my other son to produce an heir. She gestured extravagantly. That was before I started writing my novel. I'm not sure how much time I'd have for nappies now. Lord Chaseborn grabbed the brandy bottle again and poured. Novel? What novel? My novel. She took on an air of superiority. You didn't know, did you, Cyril, that I have a brain? I don't think you've asked me anything since 1920. In fact, I was here discussing it with Esme. She's a playwright of some note. Plot points, you know. Is there some sherry in the house? Robbins was ready with her ladyship's 5 o'clock sherry. She lifted it from the silver tray. Cyril took another look at her. Jane, are you wearing trousers? There was no small bit of outrage there. Do you like them? I wear pants when I write. Very freeing, don't you know? Don't be ridiculous, Jane. What have you got to write about? Gothic romances are all the rage, my dear. I do have ideas of my own. She sipped her sherry and smiled sweetly. And there's always that old family scandal of yours from the last century, so amusing. What scandal? He advanced on her. Your great-great-uncle and that dance-hall girl. That doesn't count. He was barking mad. It all counts, Cyril. All stories count. And speaking of barking, wasn't he the one who barked at the moon? Oh, it doesn't really matter. It's fiction. I just have a cauldron full of ideas and pull them out. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You wouldn't. Why wouldn't I? I have miles to go, and I've just started. She brushed some imaginary dust off her immaculate trousers. You've gone mad writing novels, wearing pants. No one can get under my skin the way you do. One has to have a few accomplishments, Cyril, don't you know? Lord Chaseborn sent a scathing glance my way, then took Jane's arm and guided her down the hall to the room where she'd been writing. He shut the door firmly, and we heard the lock turn. I hope you want to know what happens next. My advice when writing dialogue is you can sound it out, act it out, use an accent if you want, but make the reader want to keep reading. And let me know how you do it. I shared this for today, and these are my thoughts. Come back next week, and I'll see you then. Bye.